Hello, everyone, dear sisters. My name is Denise Cordero. I am a holistic life coach and soul mentor, and you're tuning into Diving Deep with Denise. This is a beautiful community by women for women where we get to have the most raw and authentic conversations about all things that is being embodied as a woman. And we share our struggles, our pain, our healing journey, and of course, all of our triumphs as well. Today, I have an amazing guest. Her name is Kristen Wood Ferrulo, and she is the owner of KFit Studio in Peabody. For those of you that are local to Massachusetts, the North Shore area, you know where that is. She's also a resident in Peabody. The fitness studio is very unique in its industry because it offers a variety of classes that appeal to the senior population. Kristen has been an ACE certified personal trainer since 2004 and a licensed physical therapy assistant since 2014. Kristen's love for fitness only began during the early years of 2000. After battling her entire life and becoming very overweight in her college years, she finally decided to make a lifestyle change. That lifestyle change over time became her career. If that was not wonderful enough, she's also a breast cancer survivor. She received her diagnosis in 2010 and really has impacted and changed her life, where fitness, health has become a passion for her, and it's just grown even stronger. I will turn it over to Kristen. Thank you so much for being with us today and also sharing your story. I appreciate reconnecting and just hearing what's going on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I know we've had this on the plan for a bit, and I'm glad I'm finally in a good space to talk to you, because these last few months have definitely been challenging for all of us, but especially as a business owner and catering to the senior population. As you can imagine, things just haven't been quite what they were, and I'm not sure if they ever will be, but I've settled in, and I'm definitely in a better space to talk to you, and I'm really happy to be here.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, I know that very recently you celebrated your 10th anniversary of being cancer-free. So
surreal.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
you. How was that journey for you from the time of your diagnosis to today?
Oh my gosh, my life. Well, I was 34 years old when I was diagnosed. So I was a young pup. It was not a genetic disposition, so I did not carry the BRCA gene. So it was just a very weird, fluky thing at a young age. I was very healthy and fit, and I think the diagnosis was a shock to anyone and everyone around me, including myself. And for a few years, I fought cancer the most valiantly I could possibly do it, because I have no other options in my head. That's just that's my makeup. Cancer was messing with the wrong girl. I knew that from the moment I was diagnosed. And that year I was unstoppable, and I had an amazing support system of friends and family, and which helped tremendously. The years to follow were a little different. I was convinced I was diagnosed and cancer, I was going to change the world, and this is what would happen to me. And, and you're surrounded by your loved ones and friends, and everyone crawls out of the woodwork, which was wonderful. But then as time goes, life just goes back to normal. And, it's not the same. And when I was not given this great platform to change the world like I thought I was, I started to become depressed. I also was left with, I'd had a double mastectomy, I'd had chemo, I had radiation. It was a whole year of fight or flight. And after all that fight, there's a letdown. And now here I am, just this single woman at 35 years old with her bald head and no eyebrows or eyelashes and missing her breasts, and I haven't changed the world and no one's really around as much as they were, which I understand. People have their own lives. And there was also a huge hormonal effect. The drugs that they had put me on for, besides tamoxifen, they had put me on an ovary suppression. So it was a lot of hormonal ups and downs along with situational. I was sort of lost in my life. I had a bachelor's degree. I was in human resources for years. And as you read in my bio, my passion for fitness did become a career, but I also knew that I should be and I could be doing something more. The personal training was great, but I knew I had better capabilities for myself. So within those 2 years, I definitely struggled. And I made the decision to go back to school. And that was in 2012. And I went back to be a physical therapy assistant. I wanted to be PT, but it's a doctoral program right now. So in order to be a PT, and it just was a lot of schooling at that point in my life. I was 34 going back, and it would have been like 6 or 7 years of school. Yeah. So I went to and did an associate's program, mainly to help women with breast cancer, because in that journey, I was a part of survivor groups, and just, of course, you are immersed in the breast cancer world. And I was really finding out what was lacking in the physical recovery of breast cancer. There was just not a lot of weight put on getting women back to their physical abilities before breast cancer. I was young, I was healthy, I was a gym person, I was a fitness person. As soon as I was able to move any part of my body, I was exercising. I was running every day during chemo. I was not your normal average bear. But these women who I was coming in contact with were complaining of, limited range of motion or tightness or soreness, or they couldn't reach to the second shelf in their cupboards. And that's not, so I knew that there should be something more consistent given to women who are going through, whether it's mastectomy or, chemo radiation also plays a huge effect in limiting, tightness in chest, and just there's all kinds of effects that happen. Lymphedema, that's another huge one. From having lymph nodes removed, women often get lymphedema, which is pooling in the lymph nodes that can cause severe swelling and really be very invasive. And I was fortunate enough that I didn't experience those things, but I was in a world where I was seeing it. Yeah. So that was my driving factor. And that is why I went back to school. Unfortunately, when I graduated, most of the positions that kind of fell in that world were PT. They wanted a DPT. So my physical therapy assistant degree or license was just not cutting the cake. And I wasn't in love with the inpatient or outpatient physical therapy world. It was very numbers driven, insurance driven. It just, there just wasn't the same, in personal training, people were so appreciative. They wanted to be there, they wanted to move. And what I was realizing in the PT world is not all of them really want to move. They're there, you're going to their room and inpatient in the hospital and, trying to get them to get up and going. Most of them, same thing with outpatient. They're there because the doctor ordered them to be there. And it's, there were far and few between that they wanted to be there, do the exercises, get healthy, and not get we called it the fluff and buff, the spa treatment at the PT clinic. So I kind of hung for 6 months while I was trying to figure out my next move, because now I've just finished school and where am I going? And I was working for Partners Healthcare at the time as an exercise instructor, part-time there, still personal training, as I was trying to figure out what to do next. And I worked at an off-site wellness center. And it was on Highland Ave in Salem, and they ran programs. One of their most successful programs was called Strong Women. It was based off a book by Miriam Nelson called Strong Women, Strong Bones, for women with osteoporosis. That's how the program started 20 years prior, or
Right.
15 years prior. And it slowly evolved as fitness evolves, and so does the, things. But most of the women there were 60s, 70s, 80s,
Wow.
who had been together for some of them for a long time. There was 100 women with a waiting list. They offered this class different times of the day, different days of the week, and they had 100 women with a waiting list. And it was amazing. And there were some other programs that went on. They had an open gym slot where people who could come in and use the gym, but it was a medical staff there to keep an eye on them. A lot of them who had gone through cardiac rehab and then found this new fitness journey themselves that wanted to continue, but didn't want to go to your big box gyms. They wanted to be someplace where they knew it was safe and good for them to go. And in February of 2015, we caught word that they were going to close the wellness center. And that's exactly what ended up happening. And in the meantime, I talked to my brother who's in the fitness industry, my younger brother. I always tell the story because my brother doesn't beat around the bush and my brother doesn't sugarcoat things. And he was in the corporate realm of our industry. And I've always been kind of the fly by the seat of my pants and worked for myself. And he's very just restricted and
very structured, huh?
Structured, yeah, not restricted, regimented, yes. And he comes from the corporate world, and he'd open gyms, and he knows what it takes. And and this is my younger brother. He's 4 years younger than me, but he has always been definitely more of the adult one in our brother sister relationship. And I went to him, and he said, "Chris, you can do this." And when he gave me kind of the green light, I explained to him what was going on. And I never thought I would be able to run a business. I really just didn't think I had that capability, to be honest with you, because I am not that same regimented, structured person. And when he gave me the green light, it was full steam ahead. And when I mentioned it to the ladies at the time, we weren't closing the wellness center until June. They said, "If you build it, we will come." And I built it, and they came, and the rest is history. We just celebrated 5 years in July, and
that's amazing. Awesome. Lots of celebrations then.
I know for such a terrible year, it's also been a good year for my personal monumental goals.
It's good to be able to have those blessings and those things that we can anchor ourselves in and see that not everything is doom and gloom, and that yes, it has been such a challenging year. It's been so heavy for everyone, for the whole world. This is a collective challenge. It's a collective thing that the whole world is going through.
And in so many different aspects. And I think that's where it can become so overwhelming. It's from so many different angles and aspects that we've all been affected. But yes, I've always been a believer. Even when I got diagnosed with cancer, people said to me, "How you do this?" And you have two options in life. You can lay down and feel sorry for yourself, or you can get up and persevere. And I had to dig deep and pull that back in because I was mourning the loss. My studio does cater to seniors, and it was a very dangerous time and difficult time. And even now still, a lot of them are not comfortable with coming back in. Even with the guidelines and restrictions that we've been given by the state, it's a conflict for myself, just, for doing the right thing and being conscious of their health, to have them back. And I miss them. We call it a KFit family, and it is a KFit family. And there's a dialogue, and there's a personal, I knew I was going to cry. I think that comes from our classes, that I have been so lucky and feel so blessed to have them in my life for the last 5+ years, that I was able to give them a home, and they appreciate it. And there's not a day that goes by that I know that I'm not teaching a simple exercise class. I know that it goes so much beyond that. And there's a social connection between them, and there's a support system between them. So it goes beyond just them coming in and working out in my studio.
That's
So
awesome that
yeah,
you were able to give them that.
I know. So, I mean, if like everyone, I've tried to adapt and overcome, and we do a virtual class. Unfortunately, your senior population isn't always the most technically savvy. So we are missing a lot of them, or they just don't have, the capabilities to get set up with Zoom or virtual classes, or signing up even for that matter. I mean, our ladies, some of them are in their 90s now. These are women that
Wow.
came from the other place. We have a lot of new people from the last few years as well. But I have a 93-year-old, and she is one of the most,
Bless her soul.
she is awesome. And of course she's not on Zoom, unfortunately. So I'm fearful too of what the long-term effects of these ladies who are so accustomed to moving 2-3 times a week. Mobility is just so important. And that's where I've struggled too, is just, I want them to stay healthy. And I know them just getting up and walking in those front doors in my studio is part of what has kept them young.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Thank
yes.
you.
Yeah.
So I want to take you back a little bit because one of the things that I work with a lot in my own coaching with women, but also has been, a great topic of conversation with a lot of my podcasts, is body image and how we see ourselves as women. I'm sure that you understand that from a very young age, we are, conditioned to what is the image of beautiful and what is not beautiful. And so when we look at magazines, to our peers, to TV, to everywhere, we are bombarded with messages of what beauty should look like, and it's usually a very unrealistic, very thin, emaciated, model type looking, very tall woman. And as girls, we try to fit that image, and unfortunately are filled with a lot of insecurities and lack of self-confidence about our bodies. So I'm sure you went through a journey where you were overweight for many years, and that kind of propelled you into fitness.
Yes.
And then at a young age, thinking about in terms of family planning, everything, all these things, you get a cancer diagnosis, you go through this radical surgery. How did that affect how you saw yourself as a woman?
So I have to say, like any woman, I definitely put pressure on myself to stay fit or look good. Working with my senior population has helped that tremendously, because they're not here to look good. And they're here to stay healthy and stay well. And I'm reminded every single day that it's not about the outside, and it's about the inside out. Oh, sorry, I thought you were froze. I often, on my Zoom classes, every once in a while freeze, and I have PTSD anytime it looks still. Yeah, I went from over being 200 pounds to being 100 pounds on stage doing bodybuilding. I went from,
Wow.
and bodybuilding is a very superficial sport. It's all about what you look like on stage and your body, and it's a selfish sport that you obsess and you diet and you spend all this time in the gym and working on yourself. I did it as a bucket list, and somebody had approached me, and my husband also is a he was a pro bodybuilder. He also competed when he was not until he was 40. We knew each other at the time. We were not married. He was married. He was previously married, but we knew each other from the gym. And we both will tell you now that it's, it was part of our own personal journeys, but it's, it is exactly like you were talking about earlier. I mean, you're just putting yourself into these stereotypes and trying to look a certain way to be judged by a group of people on your physical appearance. So from that, I moved forward and I realized life is about being healthy and fit. You want to keep yourself in shape, then you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I've always said working out is also about inside out, because it's, exercise is so important for many reasons, not just for staying thin. But the cancer diagnosis, I have to be honest, even though I was a single woman at the time, I never let that in my head. I was faced with something. My other option was to not be here on this earth, and I did what I had to do. Again, I was also very lucky. I was young, I was healthy, I responded to the surgeries well. I had amazing surgeons, amazing plastic surgeons. So to this day, even 10 years later, physically, unless you see me without my clothes on, it doesn't appear that something happened to me. So I never concern myself with that. I know many women do, and there was a time in that low year that when I was bald, they had to deflate an entire. So I had these expander bags. They have to create a pocket to eventually put the implants in, and I was over inflated, basically two cantaloupes on my chest. And they had to deflate one side because of radiation. So I walked around with one giant breast and my bald head and my eyebrow. So there was a moment there that I just looked up at the big guy and I'm like, can you just work with me here, please? Just a little bit. I'm really trying, but you're really making it difficult to love myself when I look in the mirror. But other than that, I dusted it off and just continued. And I still put pressure on myself to look a certain way. At 45 years old, things start changing and it becomes more and more difficult to stay in shape and stay healthy, but, stay in shape. Well, I guess stay healthy too. As we age, different things start to prop up. I know even just from an orthopedic standpoint, or, your joints and bones just aren't quite the same. I try to just reel it back and remember what's important. And I've been lucky enough to have a lot of important things in my life to not allow me to navigate towards an obsessive physical self.
That's great. That's awesome. Is there something that you tell yourself? Is there an affirmation, or is there a thought that goes through your head that helps you to stay centered and to stay grounded, that you think is helpful for other women who probably don't have that, that tenacity, or don't have that that anchor to say, I'm worth it, I'm valuable, and I'm beautiful as I am, and it's not really about that goal or that target, but it's really about that journey?
Gosh, I wish I could say that I wish I could say that I do, because because there are still those times that you look in the mirror and come on, it's natural, I think, for a woman. And how many times I say to my husband, oh, I look so fat. I know that I do that. So I wish that I did. I think for me, what it is that exercise has always fueled me. And that just, it almost sounds like a catch-22, but as I mentioned earlier, I was running every single day. It was me against my cancer, and my exercise saved my life. And my fitness literally just always just grounds me. It sounds funny that way, because you have to get there in order to do the exercise. But for me, it does. It just makes me feel better. It completes my day. I feel better about myself, who I am inside and out. I think that is really my affirmation. But I wish I could be better to myself and look in the mirror and say, you are strong and you are beautiful. I mean, as we were talking earlier and you're laying out all my accomplishments, I don't think we do stop and reflect on the things that we have accomplished enough. I know that I don't. I know that I don't, because when I hear somebody saying it, I almost feel overwhelmed. And wow, yes, that was me, wasn't it? So
Yeah. I do say that it sometimes takes the people in our lives that love us and see us to remind us of those things and to be that mirror for us and tell us those things. And that becomes sort of the impetus of like, of us to stop and reflect and say like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like I have really done a lot. I have really accomplished a lot. I can't believe that I didn't even see those things. And I guess it's because so many times we just don't stop. We're always go, 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 go. And I think it's just so, as much as movement is important, I think that stillness is also just as important, so that we can assimilate, we can take in sort of, we can take inventory of what we've done and gain more clarity of where we need to go.
well, I am laughing because that is always been, I know I am very self-actualizing, and I know that that is my problem. I am all about movement. I am ready, fire, aim. That's always how I've been. And, but if I hadn't been that way, that little bit of impulsivity, I wouldn't be where I am today either. And I know that, like, even with the business and just life and battling cancer the way that I did, and my husband, I mean, everything my life has brought me to this day is often because of my quick personality. But I know, and I've tried, and I continue to struggle. Even in yoga, I always tell my instructors my most difficult pose is Shavasana. I mean,
Oh, wow. Yes.
I mean, that is Kristen. It is so Kristen. You want to give me an arm balance pose? Oh yeah, and I am relentless until I master things. Yeah. If I want to do something, I can focus on it, whether it's technology or yoga. This has been challenging, learning how to do all, things with Zoom. And I convinced myself I was going to learn and figure things out, and I did. So whatever's put forth, I will be relentless to accomplish. I have trouble accomplishing stillness.
Yeah. But you said something that's so important also, is that, it comes in being relentless. It comes in, you have a challenge in front of you. And whether that has been starting a business or facing a diagnosis of cancer or overcoming all these challenges of COVID and still be there for your community and be there for your clients, is that you will continue on. And, one of the things, and this is so important for me, but for everybody else that wants to accomplish anything, sometimes it's easy to start, but it's difficult to keep going, especially when it gets difficult. And if you just keep going, you will get there. You will get there eventually. You will reap the rewards.
Yes.
But you need to be there, you need to stick with it consistently. And I mean, and fitness is much like that. I'm just as much as a fitness buff, and I've had issues with my weight for years, fluctuating up and down and so forth. And it wasn't until I actually put down enough money, what I say, invest in myself, that I'm like, oh shit, like I need to show up. Like this is like a car payment crazy.
I remember
This
talking
is
to you. We took a walk. I was so proud of you. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be about, again, it's about your health. It's about longevity and staying
yes.
well.
Yeah.
However it is that maybe it's not lifting, maybe it is yoga, maybe it's whatever it is that you enjoy, about staying healthy. When I was at
Yes.
Dana-Farber, they offered an exercise class to the women that were had been patients of through, I think it was actually all cancers, but and a friend of mine is an exercise phys over at Dana, and I used to volunteer on Friday afternoons and go in and teach the class with her. She was also a personal trainer at HealthWorks in Boston, and so they at Dana-Farber, Cancer Institute, put a huge weight on how beneficial exercise can be with their
Yes.
patients. And so that's also where, you know, my fitness stems from. Is just, you know, I'm not just some, you got to work out, you got to do this, I mean, there's so many, you know, rewards from a health perspective, whether it's heart disease, obviously the number one killer in our country, diabetes type, you know, there's
Absolutely.
reversal of, you know, just by exercising, and cancer decreased side effects. I mean, I remember learning all the things that exercise can benefit when I was being treated for cancer. And I'm like, why would you not want to just try and move?
Yeah.
And,
Mental health. For me personally, it's mental health.
oh,
I'm like,
the big, of course.
I could have like, you know, a whole cabinet of pharmaceuticals and antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. But for me, I chose the non-pharmacy route, and I have found that fitness has been a lifesaver for me, not just a life changer in terms of physically how I look and having better composition and being and having more mobility and having more agility and all those things that you want to have a higher quality of life, but it's my mental health, it's my emotional health. And I chose the route of having a personal trainer because I needed that accountability partner in order to create the habit
I understand.
of exercising. And
Yep.
this is so important, and this is one of the things that I also want to highlight. And you know, not just myself as a life coach, but you as a coach, as a health coach, as a personal trainer, you're so instrumental to the part that you're the person, you are that thing that helps, you know, people come to your studio every day and show up every day.
Yeah.
And that's so important, to be able to be the center, or be that person that creates that community, because that is what's going to get you up and going. When I think that, for me, I mean, so for so many years I had the gym memberships, and I'd end up wasting that money. I would be paying a monthly gym membership and never show up. And it wasn't until I had that coach that it helped me to become accountable, number one. So I was showing up every day, where I was showing up 3 or 4 times a week, because I'm like, shit, I've put a lot of money into this. I've invested in this. Number two, that I had guidance, I had education. And so I mean, I can let you speak to this, but from my personal experience, having a coach, having someone who's certified, is telling me, you know, is showing me how to move my body correctly. It's not just about, you know, picking up a dumbbell or picking up a barbell. I mean, doing it so properly is not only going to make it effective, but it's going to keep you safe from injury, because you can get injured from working out.
You absolutely can, definitely. And that's
Yeah.
why there has been you know, a career created of personal
Yes.
training. You know, obviously people
Yes.
need that accountability. Going back to school changed my philosophy
Yes.
in my way of training tremendously after, having being a licensed physical therapist. Because I did learn, like most personal trainers, how to train in the gym for more hypertrophy, for bodybuilding, for aesthetics. That's, you learn in those years in the gym. But my education, I mean, and I think some of the certifications now definitely delve a lot more into the functional movements. It's when I got certified,
Yes.
but it definitely changed the way that I train my clients. And I don't care how many burpees you can do. If you can't give me a simple exercise with good form, and I'm watching your knees collapse in, or you have extensive flexion in your lower back, there's tightness in your hips that I can see. I mean, there's things that I'm going to notice. So we're not going to do things until you're in good anatomical positions to strengthen yourself. So I definitely, yes, education is huge. Accountability is
Yes.
huge. And that is why I was able to sustain a career all these years, for those, two simple things. And I still personal train, obviously, on top of my classes here at the studio. But and I love both, but my ladies have been my life. They really have. My ladies have been my life.
Awesome.
And I give them just a little taste of those functional movements. I call it prehab here in our classes. And we do the exercises that are going to keep them healthy and without injury, even in their 70s and 80s. So it's great.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So where is KFit Studio today, and what is your vision for it for the next 5 years?
Oh gosh. I mean, you can't, if you had asked me that 6 months ago, I could give you a clear answer. Unfortunately, the world we live in now, we don't know what next month is going to bring. And so I don't know. I am trying to move with the times. We do have the Zoom. I'm trying to, I sent a survey to my ladies last week to kind of feel people out. The restrictions for classes are pretty big, and I have about 1,800 square feet. So I'm very limited to classes where I had 19 to 20 women in them. I could have a fraction of that. So I sent a survey just to kind of feel them out and see who would even be willing to come back to a class, a small group class and in person, and obviously different rates than they used to pay. And there was a whole slew of questions. And Google survey is amazing, by the way. You can send it out to people and they send it back to you in colored pie charts and like question by question. And I got a decent response of our women that were looking to maybe come back. So I'm playing with that still, because there's just so much logistics involved. If it's worth the risk of bringing them back in, and how to manage and control it in a proper way. So right now, it's kind of, we're staying afloat. We're doing our Zoom. I'm personal training a lot more than I was previously, because the time has opened up. It was running 16 different classes a week, Monday through Friday here. So that's obviously completely halted. So I'm training a lot more, and just keeping afloat, and we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
I'm sure your clients love that personal attention.
They do. They do. They do. They do. They do. Yeah. And I'm glad I have that. I'm glad I have the option to, when I had the clients willing to come in and wanting to fill my days, because it would definitely be a struggle
Yeah.
from a financial perspective if things were different. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We're going to move into the second part of our podcast here, and that is the deep five, as I call it. And it's diving in deeper, because after all, that is the main purpose of this, like really digging deep, and having nuggets of wisdom that we can share with the community, with our sisterhood, and see how they connect with us, and where there's, where we feel like there's community and there's support and there's solidarity. And we have women out there that'll say, me too, I went through that, and wow, this is how Kristen dealt with this. And so I don't feel so alone in this journey. But anyway, the first question is, what is a life lesson that you have had to learn the hard way?
A life lesson that I have had to learn the hard way. I feel like oftentimes many life lessons are the hard way. Well, as we were talking earlier, my ready, fire, aim attitude doesn't always work. And I have always been that fly by the seat of my pants, as I said earlier as well. I have fallen because of those many of times with things, and with that, especially as a business owner. And I had to learn quickly how to settle in and create this structure for myself. Even with school, I think that second time around with schooling, I color coded everything. I mean, I knew who I was as a person and as a learner, and for me to stay focused and stay, regimented, I had to create these processes for myself, and especially with the business. So yeah, you can't just open up a business doors and just expect money to come in and not be worrying about the financial side of it and number side of it. I'm lucky that my husband is a CPA in my non-number brain, and he is very structured. So he definitely has helped me a lot get my focus with my business, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Although I like to say briefly, I beg to differ that you're not regimented or structured, because to become a bodybuilder, you have to be very, very regimented in order to obtain a certain aesthetics.
True.
That is not for the weak of heart.
True.
It takes discipline to become a bodybuilder.
I am definitely disciplined in moments of goals.
Yeah.
And moments of goals.
Yeah.
I definitely am. But however, that focused person sometimes doesn't always stay so focused. And
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. What is the hardest thing you've ever had to do in your life, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, I would have to say, I don't know if it was the hardest thing. Yeah, it was definitely a decision when I was at Dana-Farber. I mean, this is one decision that just always comes to the forefront of my brain, and I'm sure there's other things, but I was told that my left breast was 90% covered in cancer. So therefore it was going to have to be removed, a complete mastectomy on the left. And at 34 years old, I had to make the decision whether I wanted to remove my right breast or not. And the doctors try to say, you don't want to, there's no need to take this other healthy organ. And my dad and stepmom were an integral part of my journey, especially in the beginning with all my appointments. And my dad, as difficult as it was, also was, Chris, if they're telling you not to, then maybe you don't. And I had to make the decision for them to book the surgery. They needed to know how they were doing. And it was tough. It's not, do I want super salad with my lunch? It was, am I keeping my right breast or not? And all the time I kept finding myself defending taking it as well, no matter who said it to me. And that was probably a little bit of a sign for me. But quick story, I was living in Riviera at the time on the beach, and they needed to know that afternoon. And I decided to take a walk down to the beach because the ocean is just my happy place. It's just, for me, it's clarity. It's just always feels like
Yeah.
home. I grew up on the ocean, and it's just it's where I do the best. So I went down to sit and just kind of stare out at the sea and figure things out. And I said, okay, well, just send me a sign, please. Just give me a sign. And suddenly the dark clouds on this beautiful sunny day, which is also how I discovered this business, but that's another story. It's funny. The clouds rolled in and it started to pour within moments, like moments. It wasn't like they were overcast. It was, so here I am sitting here walking back to my house, and I'm like, okay, so is that a yes or a no? I wasn't sure what the answer for that sign was, but it was a gut decision, and I decided to take both breaths and know that I would not have to worry for the rest of my life, and it was the best decision I ever made.
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you. I think the fact that you shared that you went to the ocean and you had a moment of you time in quietude in a place that you feel is your place of comfort and your place of peace, and that you were able to shut out what everybody else had to say, but at that moment you had to trust you and a higher power and nothing else about the decision that you needed to make for yourself, for your life, is so important. Because I think that we all, and this is not, not just women, but I think women more so than men, we depend so much on the opinions of others and not trust our own instincts, our own gut as much. And they don't, they don't lead us astray. It's very dead on. And being able to trust that instinct, being able to trust that gut, being able to trust ourselves to make the best decisions for ourselves, I think is a big lesson.
Yes, and as just as women being child bearers, I mean, I do not have children of my own. We are born with instincts. We are so instinctive. It's just a matter of whether we listen
Yes.
with instincts or feel those
Yes.
instincts. I
Exactly.
have to uncover them.
Or the intuition, as we like to call it, right? That intuition, that inner knowing that is always there. And I think that it's guided from a higher place,
Agreed.
whatever people believe in.
Agreed.
Yeah. What legacy do you want people to remember you for?
So I have to say that it's my studio, and not just the fitness, just the way that I have helped our KFit family in the last 5 years, and given so many of these women a place to come and be comforted by one another and create a support system. Many of these women, are alone at home. Their kids or grandkids might not be local. And even still with my Zoom, I get constant feedback how this has been a lifeline for them. And it makes me so happy that I've been able to provide something wonderful for them. And definitely, as I mentioned earlier, it's just been, it's a very rewarding aspect for me to be able to provide that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Do you have a favorite motivational quote or inspirational thing that you listen to or that you come to often?
Favorite inspirational quote. I do not have any. Let me see. Let me think about this one, because I don't have anything offhand. I know I'm not. See, that comes with that stillness and belief. And I just adapt and overcome right now is probably the one that comes to my head the most. And I've probably said the most in the last few months. But I just truly believe that you can accomplish anything that you believe you can. And I've always felt that, or again, I guess another one would be you have two options. You can lay down and feel sorry for yourself, or you can get up and persevere. And that's always how I've lived my life. And, you know, the other, you know, laying down is not an option for me. You know, it really isn't.
Yeah. Well, it speaks to your strength and your tenacity for sure,
Thank you.
and your perseverance. So thank you. Um, so the last one is, what's the one thing you'd like to share with our sisterhood? What's the one takeaway you want everyone to know?
Well, that we do have a sisterhood, or maybe something along the topic that we were just talking about uncovering intuition or instinct or feeling or belief in yourself, because it's so important. You're not gonna get there if you don't believe in yourself, but you can get there as long as you believe you can. And I just hope that the sisterhood knows that there is support. There are other sisters out who have maybe gone through similar experiences, or maybe not, but are willing to um, stand by your side, even if they haven't quite had the same experience. There is definitely a loving community out there. And I've always called my studio the KFit bubble. And I have been very secluded in this, and it literally is a circle, is what encompasses my studio name. And I was smoked out of my bubble. You know, we were all smoked out of our bubbles with the current year and being forced to close business doors and stay in your homes, and definitely a challenging time. But with that said, I have always been immersed by wonderful, beautiful people that make each day so much easier for me. And there are lots of good people out there that are willing to help and to share and to be a part of whatever it is that you need.
Thank you. So there's one last thing that really resonated with me that I want to share with our community, and it's part of your brand of KFit Studio. And those are the words: inspire, motivate, and change. Can you say some last words about those? How did you come up with them?
Well, I actually, I wish I could, was it me or my friend who's a graphic designer? We were sitting and just poking, and I knew there was just certain keywords, and her and I just were hashing things out, and then they just came, and I just like, this is what I've wanted to do from the moment of sitting in the waiting rooms at Dana-Farber. I would talk to a person next to me, and within a conversation, they were like, well, if you're running 5 miles a day going through aggressive chemo, I guess I can get up and go for a walk. And I knew I had this natural ability to inspire people just by talking to them, and not intentionally. That didn't have a business at that time. I wasn't trying to promote anything except for, you know, how beneficial this can be, you know, and this is how I'm conquering it. And I didn't have side effects. I didn't have any long-term effects. I mean, the exercise, I was really lucky through aggressive surgery, aggressive chemo, radiation, to come out the way that I did. And I just wanted people to share that and also come out being healthy on the other side. So that is where it came from.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It really, when I saw it, it just resonated with me. And it's so aligned to sort of my mission and the things that I want to do with this community and with the greater community at large, which it is about inspiring, motivating, and changing, and
The change
helping
is not always easy.
transform, right?
It's not always easy. And that's why I think the inspire and the motivator is so important, because
Yes.
change is tough.
Yes. Thank you so much for being with us, Kristen. I appreciate you. And I hope that everyone here in our community um, gets your message, understands your message, and feels that it has helped them in some way, and feels inspired and motivated to change, and probably If you're local in the area around the North Shore, to check out KFit Studio, her website is k-fitstudio.com, correct?
Perfect. You got it. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. You'll get more deets on my webpage, denisecordero.com. And of course, like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify. Share this message, favorite this message. We want all of our sisters, all of the women. We want to grow our community of diving deep. Thank you for tuning in with all of us. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye.